This 7-round mock draft, Travis Jones right off the bat, defensive tackle. This was a tough one for you. I know you went back and forth. You and I have gone back and forth about Jones. It's not really what Bruce Arians described at the combine of what they were looking for. I think he's in cahoots with Jason Light on that description. I think they would rather a player more similar in style to a Devontae Wyatt. Jones has some pass rush ability. He played UConn. Obviously, they have been an awful team, but he really stood out even against Clemson. I know Clemson's offensive line was trash this past year. They were brutally bad, and he tossed them around, and that's what you want to see from a guy playing from UConn. So there's a lot to like. I don't know how much of an explosive upfield penetrator he is. My biggest concern with Jones is that he is just pretty slow off the ball, and I'm not sure how much that gets fixed at the next level. Maybe they tweak his stance, but it does seem like there's some upside limitations to him, even though he probably comes in the NFL as a pretty solid player right away.
Yeah. And I think the thinking on this one, and again, this is where the strategy has to come into play. This is not fantasy football. This is not Madden where you can manipulate certain things or even like a mock draft simulator per se. This is assuming that Devontae Wyatt is off the board, right? So that's the assumption that we made here. And really there's about 4 defensive tackles in this draft class that I think could interest the Buccaneers. Devontae Wyatt's one of them. And then I think the upper echelon guy, I don't think they're interested in Jordan Davis. John, I think you'll agree with me on that. Probably not an ideal Buccaneer fit. They're looking for people that can
probably like him, just not next to Vea.
Correct. Yeah. He's kind of the same guy. They're looking for people that can affect the quarterback and all that. And while I understand it, that's not really what Travis Jones is per se. What he is he's another version of Ndamukong Suh. And obviously Suh is kind of a Buccaneer fit, right? He's been a decent pass rush producer, 6 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons. It's not his forte. It really is stopping the run. And what you have in this guy, 6'4", 325, 330 pounds, is just brute force. He is that type of stop the run first, help you a little bit in the pass rush game. And the Buccaneers, they've gotten by with using Jason Pierre-Paul inside when he was healthy as that nickel rusher, right? Either next to Suh or next to Vea, but one of those defensive tackles comes out. And we've talked about this team could draft a player like Boye Mafe at 27, right? That was another name in contention there because even though they've drafted an edge player, John, having another big body, and this guy's 265 pounds, same size, not as tall, maybe not as long as Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, but another guy that could kick inside in that nickel rush package, because there really aren't too many guys like Devontae Wyatt this year that are that ideal classic 3 technique, 1 gap penetrating pass rusher type at defensive tackle. So that was kind of the thinking there is they need a defensive tackle. Suh is not re-signed yet. They have not re-signed Steve McClendon. They're going to have to get some bodies. Even if Suh comes back, it's going to be for 1 year. There's still going to be an emphasis on stuffing the run in Ty Bowles' defense. Always will be. Yeah. That's where Jones can help this team. He's got enough quickness. It's not like this is a 5'1" guy. He's ran a 4.92 at the combine. I think he's a work in progress. He might be a guy that could get you 4 to 5 sacks per season at the NFL level.
This is a pick that would be, everybody wants to be, we love it or we hate it. You know, this would be a pick I would be like right down the middle on, to be honest. Like I like Travis Jones. I think he's a good player. I think maybe he could develop a few more moves and potentially be better. I don't really see him being like an impact player in terms of just like a big difference maker. He's a helpful body. He's a guy that's going to probably, play in rotation with Golston and with other guys that, I think it's fine. I don't think it necessarily raises the window for this year like somebody that's more explosive might. But I don't know. To me, Scott, this is a fine pick, and I could see it happening. It wouldn't stun me. But I don't know if I'd like choose it to put my money on or anything like that. That's kind of how I see it.